Okay, hi everyone. I just muted everyone now, but please unmute yourself if you want to talk, and also our speakers will be unmuted. Thank you very much for joining our webinar today. It's about vision, focus, and goals. So the topic is quantum scaling methods. I'm a founder of digital platform, coaching platform called Discover New You. And we help individual people and corporation to connect with the best top partners around the world. And the challenges the company has at the moment are in terms of leadership, in terms of communications, in terms of sales, in terms of team building, being more effective, productive, and it's also about the employees, because the employees create a company. So how successful they are and if they have a great environment to work for, it's very important for us. So we have also career coaches, we have health and fitness advisors. So please, happy to come on our website and check discovernew.net. It's global, international, based in the US, Italy, Switzerland, also Germany, and yeah. But today we have a great guest speakers. First is Jennifer Asidao-Querubin. She's corporate leadership coach, and also Proctor Gallagher Institute consultant. And the second guest is #1 best-selling author in USA, Dan Matthews. He wrote an amazing book, and they give you great content in terms of vision, focus, and goals, especially for owners and C-level executives or people who are working in the corporate world. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please ask at the end. So they're happy to answer. And now, Jennifer and Dan, the stage is yours. So probably Jennifer first, or both.
Welcome everyone. So today we want to talk about purpose, vision, and goals, and how that relates to quantum scaling. The first set that we wanted to go over is, as leaders, if there were no limitations, we want to pose this question to everyone here. There are no limitations. What would you like to see happen in your companies and with your teams? So that's the first that we would like to say. Right now, what we're doing is we're tapping into something called imagination. And that vision that we are creating is based upon and aligned with what is the purpose of your companies, correct? What is the purpose of its existence, and how do you want to see that manifest within the next 3 to 5 years? What does that vision look like? And the key thing is how the how itself is not priority. It's more of the what. So we're really painting this picture amongst the leadership, an inspired picture. And then from there, a goal or a milestone can be set. Yes. So Dan, did you want to add anything to what we just covered, just opening up right away with these principles of purpose, vision, and goal setting? Did you want to add anything to that? Let's unmute you, Dan. Yeah.
I don't know if I can. There we go. You can hear me now?
Yes.
I think that what I would add to that is every company, we have people here. Are you all involved in management? Is there a chat box there, Elisa, at the bottom? Can you put something in the chat? Yes.
Yeah, there is. Yes, there. Yes, they are. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we have people putting in yes that they are in management. If you're in management for your company, you should have sometimes they call it a mission statement, sometimes they call it a vision statement, sometimes they call it a purpose statement. You should have a statement for your company that says what your company's goal is. What is the purpose of your company? And I'd like you to think about that for just a minute, because there was a study done recently with CEOs of companies asking them what is the purpose of their company. And almost 80% of them could not answer that question. If you don't have a clear definition, a clear statement of the goal of your company, of the purpose of your company, then your company is like a ship without a rudder out on the ocean. You're not going to go anywhere. You have to have a definite purpose, and it has to be clear. And what I'm going to ask you to do is think about that for just a minute. When I read company goal statements, usually it's a paragraph. It's long and it says all kinds of vague things like, we want our company to be the best and highly productive and producing the best product available. And it's so generic that every company wants to do that. But what is your purpose? And I'd like you to, if you have a pen and a paper, take your pen and think about it for just a minute and write down the goal of your company. And it can be a 3 to 5 year goal. It can be your overall goal for a 10 or 15-year goal. But what is the purpose of your company? Why does your company even exist? What's the vision that you have? Now, I want you to think about it in terms of if there was no way that you could make a mistake and there was no way you could fail, what would your company look like? What would be the purpose of your company? And I'd like you to write that down in 10 words or less. Take just a minute. Think about it. What is your goal for your company in 10 words or less? While you're thinking, I'm just going to encourage you that this is not intended to be difficult. It's intended to make you think in terms of a single, most important goal that you can state clearly and briefly.
If I may add, if you're heading a certain department, like what goal would that be for your department in line with the executive goal, with the overall goal of the company? That could also be from that perspective as well. Okay, very good.
We have one that's come in, and put it in the chat.
Yeah,
Go ahead. To enable expats abroad to manage their finances, goals efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So you're enabling expats to manage their finances and or their financial goals, to manage their financial goals efficiently. Very good. That's very clear. Anybody that comes in to your company knows exactly what you're providing. You're providing you're providing assistance or enabling expats to manage their financial goals efficiently. And the nice thing about that, what's really good about that statement is that it's brief and clear, but it also includes what it is that you're doing for your clients. How are you helping someone else? And that's really an important part of a goal, is a company goal is to help somebody else. Now, in the process of doing that, you've used your imagination, you've focused your attention, and you've made it possible to, for anybody in your company could memorize exactly those 10 words. Anybody in your company could sit down, you could ask them when you pass them in the hall, You could just say, what's the company goal? And they should be able to say, to enable expats abroad to manage their financial goals efficiently. And once your whole company has that phrase in their mind, your company will start to become aligned toward that goal. Another one that's come in says, build a healthy, wealthy, and happy community, helping people growing together. And that's one, it's very clear that you're focusing on helping other people. The one thing I would say is, how are you going to do that? What is it that you're going to do to build a healthy, wealthy, happy community? Are you helping people to become more healthy? Are you showing them how to become more prosperous? Are you showing them how to communicate or provide things for their community? You really have 3 goals, maybe 4 goals, because they're growing together also. And I would say you would have a more powerful goal if you're focusing on exactly how it is that you're providing that. And you might want to cut it down to one of those things: healthy, wealthy, happy, growing together, and say how you're going to do that.
So I think the emphasis here is really on service, right? Because the truth is, the rewards that we reap are in direct relationship to the service. So the more that we serve, so if there is a revenue goal, or if there's an individual income goal, we can translate it to, let's say I want the yearly revenue to become monthly, or my yearly income to become a monthly income. Then we have to translate that to, how can I give that service an equivalent to that goal, right? I would say here that these missions are very clear, and that when we're looking at goal setting, we're actually tangibilizing this a little bit more. Meaning, okay, my goal is, or our goal is, to serve so many expats, right? To manage their financial goals efficiently. For Chow, to build a healthy, wealthy, and happy community, how big do you want that community to grow? So the goals are measurable as well, and they do have time frames. And the key thing about the goal is that it is also beyond what we currently believe is possible. That's the most important thing, because you also want to grow. The purpose of goals is to grow into them and to grow your level of awareness, because majority of people are only operating at a certain percentage of what they're really truly capable of doing. So what we would recommend is really identify this goal that truly inspires you. I mean, really think about, what is that community going to look like? How big do you want it? What type of people in this community do you want to serve? Because you would absolutely love to work with and to serve. What are the type of the responses that you want to get from the expats, because you have serviced them so well? They're like, oh my goodness, because there are 2 types of compensation, right? It is monetary, part of it's monetary, but it's also psychic compensation. You just feel so good doing what you do. Dan, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's really well said, Jen. It's the purpose of your company has to include your service, what you're providing, and the ones that we've seen have done that perfectly. Clearly defining, clearly stating what it is, how it is that you're serving others. Because service is really the measure of is the first step on your path to success. You have an idea, and we all want to make more money. We all want to grow financially, and we want to have maybe you have more detailed goals that say, I want 37% of the market share in the health supplement industry or something like that. But the important thing is you want to provide something that's of value to other people. And when you're providing value, you will get prosperity in return.
And if I may add to that, Dan, I love the law of compensation. I love that when we really look at that. So we're looking at these deeper principles here in terms of success, where, you know, what is the need for what you have, and everyone here has a great demand for what they provide, right? Everyone needs health. Everyone needs more prosperity, more networks, right? More connection with other people. So the second part of the law of compensation is, how well do you do what you do? How good is your company at delivering the service? How well do the individuals or the company employees deliver the service, right? So that's the second point. And the third point is how indispensable is your company in the marketplace in terms of servicing the marketplace, right? So we would say that concentrate on the second point. The second point is, how well do you do what you do? Because you can really control that. You can really, really control that. You know, how can you make yourself stand apart, shine compared to others? Now, it's not about necessarily, it's about really creating your pathway, really creating what makes you unique in the marketplace. And it's not about taking away from anybody else. It's just pure creation. So there's a lot to that there.
And to follow up with the phrase that you said, it's not about taking away from somebody else, is really an important aspect of it, because the truth of the matter is, all of the things that you receive in life come from the universe, from universal intelligence, from God, from source, from energy which is out in the universe already. And that energy that's out there that ends up as money, as growth, as additional communication, better communication, as people working together, those things are all unlimited. The source is unlimited. And there's no way that you receiving more means somebody else has to receive less. You receive more because you receive in proportion to your alignment with the energy that's in the universe that you're seeking. Now, that's kind of a big phrase, but if you stay focused, if you focus your attention on your goal, there's another part to that, and that is, how would you feel how will you feel when that goal is achieved? You focus your attention on the goal, but you focus your attention also on the feeling of how you feel when the goal is achieved. And if you had to put down one or two words in the chat, how would you feel when your goal is achieved? How would you feel when you're actually enabling expats to manage their financial goals efficiently? How would you feel when you're helping, when you've built that healthy, wealthy, happy community and you've helped people to grow together? How would you feel? You feel delighted, you feel good and happy. You might feel grateful that you were able to accomplish that. And the other secret that very few people talk about, because it's a kind of a sensitive area, satisfied. The other thing about it is that the feeling, focusing on the feeling, aligns you with your goal and actually causes that energy in the universe to come together. The feeling, if it's a good feeling, feeling good, feeling happy, feeling satisfied, feeling thankful, those kinds of feelings put you in alignment with the goal that you're trying to achieve and will help to move that goal into reality. And it doesn't have to be a vague goal like just providing healthiness. It can be a very solid goal like I want my company to earn $100 million in the next year. And how quickly that comes to creation, comes to reality, will depend on how aligned you are with your feeling and how focused your attention is. And those are rules that are not just, I'm not just saying that like it's some kind of magic and it's a new age concept or something like that. It's been around forever. All I'm saying is how the process works. And it's not just in your imagination, although your imagination is part of it. It's a law that's throughout all of the universe, in physics, in biology, in the world, in the real world that we live in. Those same rules apply.
I love what Dan was going over, because I was just thinking, imagine your team members, imagine leadership, imagine those that you lead are all in this feeling of being delighted, feeling good and happy, thankful and satisfied. Think about the productivity in your organizations when majority of the individuals are in that state, right? So it's just like what Dan said, it is from imagination, right? Now, how much more will your team members want to move into action, being in that state of being delighted, feeling good and happy, thankful and satisfied, right? So you're looking at an increase in productivity and also increase in efficiency as well. And it's interesting what Dan said, what he covered about the laws. So these states are actually causing the result or the goal to happen. So we're talking about the universal law of cause and effect. The effect is the actual goal. That's a manifestation of what we want to see. The cause is aligning with that goal. Because when you think about that goal and you feel that goal, you're actually causing the goal to be. And it's not just magic, because guess what? Everyone is motivated. Everyone is moving into actions that are aligned to manifest that goal.
And that was true. Let me go back and tell you, I said that it's true in the rest of the world also. I have a degree in physics also, and there's a rule that was described in physics. It was discovered in physics in the 1930s, when physicists were studying the particles that make up an atom, and through some equipment, they were seeing trails in vapors of not atoms, but the particles that make up atoms, subatomic particles. And they found that if the observer was looking for a particular kind of particle, that particle would actually appear in a higher proportion than if the observer was looking for something else. And they started calling it the uncertainty principle. And then they changed the name to the observer effect, that the intention of the observer to see something actually made that particle appear in the physical world more often than it would normally. And that same, and it was evidence. It's actually something they have to take into account when they're doing all kinds of studies in physics now. They have to take into account the observer effect, because they know that the observer can actually change the results. And that same thing is true in the world of personal development, of corporate growth, of managing a company, managing your employees. If you envision, if you have the intention and you put your attention on that goal, it is more likely to come into being. There's solid evidence that it's true in the physical world too.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And we're touching upon that universal law of thinking. That's what comes to mind, just listening to you, Dan. Yeah.
The power of your imagination is actually, it's unbelievable that your imagination has the ability to change and to cause to come into reality in your life the thing that you're thinking about. If you put attention and you have emotion like the satisfied, thankful, delighted, good and happy, gratitude, those things are powerful emotions that cause the energy in the universe to rearrange itself. You have that ability. And like Jen said, imagine what your business would be like. You've heard of people who say, I love working at so-and-so. I love working at that company. Everybody there is so friendly and so, they're so content. They're happy to go to work and they love creating things. There's a corporate mentality because they all have a common focused goal. They know what they're doing. They know that they're helping people and they're seeing those results. And your company can be exactly like that.
Great. Can I ask a question? So how can, because some of the companies, Dan and Jen, also are struggling in terms of that today, you know, there are some communication aspects, or, you know, they struggle to achieve the goals they desire, how we can help them to change the mindset, and what steps they should make in the company, you know, as the leaders with the employees to start to look more scalable for the business.
Go ahead, Jen. I'm going to let you start out on that one.
The main thing is, this is rule number one, you cannot play into the problem at hand. If you play into the logic of the problem, you will only produce the problem over and over and over again. So the key thing is for leadership, especially, to go into the creative process, which is also tapping into imagination. And one has to ask themselves, well, how do I want this to look like? How do I actually want the dynamic to look like? If there are interpersonal issues, then we must look at, well, how, again, thinking into the result of what we would like to manifest. That's it. And then from there, and creating that new belief that that is possible, the actions and the logic to back that will come into play, right? And based on the level of awareness of the leaders, we can, okay, now we can implement this and this and this to foster, right, the changes, right? And as leadership and all the individuals go through their own unfolding process, what we say, because all problems are all rooted in ignorance. That's really what it is. So the more that leadership and people in the company and the teams, when they gain more knowledge about who they really are, like we just gained so much knowledge listening to Dan about our true potential of our thought power, right? And knowing that that is how powerful our thoughts are, we would be a lot more careful as to how we perceive other people, how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive our businesses. We would be so much more conscientious as to what we choose to think. So the first thing is this: you must go into the creative process and only think of the result that you want, and only focus on that. Implement the activities that will foster that result at the level of awareness that you have. And as the awareness grows and grows and grows, right, like studying material that the Dan has, studying material that like thought leaders like Bob Proctor has, then we implement new things. That's what I would say. Dan, did you want to add to that?
Well, I think that's exactly right, Jen. Actually, I know that's exactly right. And the more people you have in your company who feel the same way, who know what the goal is, it's as clear to them as it is to you. And they are on board. They're in agreement with it. And they want to see that happen also, because they know that when the company grows, when the company is successful, they are more successful. They can share in that success. The important thing is to make sure, like Jen said, that everybody is aligned, and that it's a creative process where you're focused not on the problem, as they call it, but because the problem, when it comes up, is something, when you focus your attention on it, it makes the problem grow. It gives the problem energy, and the problem grows out of proportion. When you focus your attention instead on the goal, and you focus on, every problem has a solution. Every problem has a solution, and the solution is usually attached to the problem. It's like a coin, if you turn it over, the backside is the solution. But most people don't see that. They focus on the problem. Focus on creating the solution or finding the solution, and then keep your mind open, keep your eyes open, and if you get a gut feeling, go with that gut feeling about when a solution comes. It'll just come. Mm-hmm. If you're focused on finding the solution and you're focused in a creative way. Problems are there to help you to grow. But if they're seen only as problems, it has the opposite effect. When you see a problem, you think, there's an opportunity for a solution. And that opportunity will open doors of possibility, will open more doors of opportunity. One solution leads to another. Pretty soon you're down the road a few more steps, and you look back and go, why did we think that was a problem? It'll disappear. The problem disappears. And the other thing about communication in your company is, if there is a person who really doesn't get it, they don't understand, they think that this is all crazy talk, or their purpose in life is some people's purpose in life is not to be part of a team, it's to bring the team down or take it in another direction. Somebody who has their own mind about how things should go and they're not in alignment, that person eventually will either change their mind and decide to be part of the team, or they'll go someplace else. And if they go someplace else, guess what? It'll be better for the company, because the team that'll be left will not be being pulled in another direction. The focused attention and the community attention focused on a goal, it gives great power to that goal, that vision, that imagination.
I would like to add to what Dan just said. I love what he spoke about, because he's talking about something that is actually very habitual and we're not necessarily 100% aware of. And we're talking a lot about awareness, and that is about the attitude of looking at the problem, right? And taking on the attitude that there is actually a hidden opportunity. I love that. There's a hidden opportunity, because here's the thing, results don't just happen. The truth is, when you look at a result you don't like, and you just describe it in great detail, you will see that there are habitual ways of doing things that are perpetuating that result of the problem result. So when we focus on the solution, we will find that there are actual actions that support that solution. So the opportunity is to look at the contrast. The opportunity is to look at the change and see, so we come to another level of clarity. See, because results don't just happen, it's due to habits. And the collective in the company may not be aware of what they're habitually doing necessarily. Okay, if we have a question from Amrit here.
Great one, yeah. So I have okay.
Yeah,
maybe I repeat the question because it's maybe hard for you to see. I have a questions regarding focus. So what's exactly?
Can everybody?
Yeah, we hear.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's easier if I probably talk rather than just type, because it might take a bit longer. So thanks so far for the presentation, Jennifer and Dan. It's been quite insightful looking at goals. I just wanted to touch upon focus really, because I totally agree with the whole goal setting, because otherwise it's kind of like the ship example Dan gave, or you're kind of running around in circles or going nowhere without a goal, right? You kind of like lost. And I think that's very important to set a goal and certain targets. Totally agree with that. One of the things that I find personally that I have kind of a lack on is things like focus, i.e. things like procrastination. What I mean by that is things like emotions have a huge impact. Sometimes you don't feel like doing something on a certain day. It depends what side of the bed you wake up on. Or, you know, sometimes you don't feel like sending 100 emails or 100 cold calls, for example. Or, you know, I just think that sometimes, you know, there's things like you can go for a cup of coffee and it could take you up to 18 minutes, you know, to regain your focus. And these little small things, you have a day planned out, and all of a sudden you get one phone call or something, you know, or, you know, you have a medical appointment, or you know, you played sports, and then all of a sudden you can't get back in the zone. So, I mean, do you guys have any kind of general suggestions on how one can, you know, prevent that sort of procrastination and keep focus, basically?
Well, actually, I'm going to just, we're going to talk about that specifically. The next topic that we're going to cover has to do with six things that you can do every day to help to eliminate that procrastination, because I know that I have the same issue. I'm working on something, and all of a sudden I feel like I really need to have a cup of coffee. And on the way to get the coffee, I see, oh, here's somebody who I passed somebody, and they want to talk about something. And an hour later, I still haven't gotten back to the job that I was going to be doing. And it wasn't because I had an intention to go out and not do the work, but in my subconscious mind, in my habitual way of thinking, that's the day that I set up, not in my conscious mind, but it worked its way in there because I think, well, the work's going to be hard. I don't quite understand how I'm going to do it. And so in my subconscious mind takes over and says, oh, you really can't do that anyway. Why don't you go have a cup of coffee? And you're listening to two different voices. But we're going to talk about that in just a couple minutes, and hopefully the question will be, you'll get a good solution.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, yeah, that's a good example what you said about exactly what you said with the coffee bumping into colleagues. Sometimes, you know, you take an hour or so, and then you're totally in a different zone. I mean, with me personally, I'm more in a self-employed situation. So I've also worked in banks before, in the likes of UBS and Credit Suisse, where it's really easy to get distracted and meet lots of people. But being based at home now as a home office and kind of being by yourself and not really reporting to somebody, because it's up to you, you're in control of your own destiny. I think it can be even worse, because in a corporate environment, you're getting a paycheck, you're doing your 9 to 6, and yeah, you might get a bonus, yeah, you might not. It depends on your agreement or whether you work in sales or what your role is. But I think, you know, in a kind of self-employed home office role, it can be even more dangerous, because you might end up on Facebook or a WhatsApp message, and then it just drifts. Somebody might say, hey, there's something going on tonight on Eventbrite. There's a crypto event. Let's check it out. And then you just spent an hour on Eventbrite checking out what pages what things are happening on the weekend. And it's just mind-boggling how the mind just enters a totally different zone, basically. And yeah, so for me, I think it can be quite tricky as a person who has to focus solely himself, because otherwise you're basically in charge of your destiny. And by doing these sort of things, it doesn't really help.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you don't feel like you know that you haven't produced like you could have. So it causes.
Yeah, definitely. There's no worse feeling than that. There's no worse feeling knowing that you have the potential, but then not being able to fulfill it because of these distractions.
Yeah, you have the capability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much to that.
Thanks very much, Amrit, for questions to Dan and Jen. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Just a few things I wanted to say is that, first, when I speak to my clients, here's the thing about sales. Okay, let's really break it down. Folks in the position of sales can be one of the highest paid and one of the lowest paid. and it depends on your habits,
Mhm.
right? And here's the thing about moving from the employee quadrant into, being in business for yourself, is that the good news is you are your own boss, and the bad news is you are your own boss. So there's this real need for self-management, really being able to manage oneself, right? And once we learn, and Dan had touched upon the subconscious mind, once we learn how to really manage ourselves, especially through where the primary cause of these activities are, and that is actually in the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind determines 97% of what we do.
Mhm.
97%, can you imagine? Because almost all of our behavior is completely habitual. Wow.
Yeah.
So there must be a hidden fear that is causing, in the subconscious mind, that is causing the delay in doing the things that you know you need to do. And
Yeah, I think
everyone,
that could be failure, for example, or something. If you're
Mhm.
starting off, or like I said, if you're used to a secure job where you get a monthly paycheck, and now you're doing something slightly different, which is a bit more, higher risk, and it requires you to really stick your neck out there. I think sometimes people are not comfortable with that, and there are those inner demons that kind of prevent you sometimes from really going out there. Or you might have had a bad phone call with somebody, and that's just part of how things are when you're working in a kind of environment where you're looking for new business. It's not everybody's going to be your customer, and that's something that the mind obviously has to understand, that it's okay to get rejected on a call, for example. But the problem is sometimes when that happens, the emotional side gets connected, and then you kind of feel bad, and then it puts you off, for example, which is something that I'd probably like to get rid of.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. Well, it's interesting how the term high risk was used, right? And again, that it's a shift in belief systems. Because imagine this, Amrit, who can you really place a bet on? Is it the company you used to work on, or is it on yourself?
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So there's a belief there.
Yeah.
There's a belief that is causing the behavior, and the belief is this is really high risk. But if you can change, and again, it's if you truly were to understand what you're really capable of doing, and I will say this, Amrit, I will say this because sometimes I've noticed that, when we move into being into business for ourselves, sometimes the goal is I just want to replace my income that I made.
Yes.
You see, now here's the thing. That may not be inspiring enough for you.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Because it's like, it's done. I've made that. You see, what is really, okay, when we're going after a goal, which is a worthy ideal, you are trading your life for it. And you have to congratulate yourself. You have decided to trade your life for something better.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
See? So your goal, what I am assessing, is that it's not big enough right now. It's not inspiring enough for you.
Yeah.
Where when all these distractions come up, it's like, oh, nope, got to get to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting analogy. Yeah.
Mm. Dan, did you want to add? Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could address this second issue that Amrit brought up to there's an easy thing that you can start today to start really directing your path toward attention and focus and achieving that goal that you've written in 10 words or less. And that is, it's called a 6-step list. Just on a small piece, half a piece of paper. It doesn't take much, just a small piece of paper. You can write down a list of 6 things, just 6 things, 6 things that you will do tomorrow to move you closer to your goal. Now, they may be just 6 tasks that you would normally do during the day. They may be you need to call somebody, a connection for some raw materials, or you need to talk to a certain employee about the next step in their project, or you have things that you're going to be doing tomorrow anyway. This is what you're going to be doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the ideal time to write this list down is just before you go to bed, so that it's fresh in your mind. These 6 things I will do tomorrow, and write down 6 things. Some of them will be big things, some of them will be little things. And then the one thing that they all have to have in common is they all have to take you a step closer to your goal. They have to be aligned with your goal.
Okay.
Then during the night, your subconscious mind your subconscious mind never stops working. And it actually works just as much when you're asleep as it does when you're awake. Your subconscious mind will start to organize those 6 steps. And in the morning, what you want to do is take the most difficult of those 6 steps and do that first, while you're fresh in the morning and you're focused on that alone. And then you can start checking off the others. You may not get all 6 of them done by the end of the day.
Yes.
The ones that you don't get done, put on your list that night so you can do them the next day. Yeah. That little trick was first presented in the literature in the 1920s. And the person who had presented it to a CEO of a major US steel manufacturing corporation just gave the CEO that idea, that list, and said, just pay me whatever you think it's worth in the 1920s. And a few weeks later, he received a check for $25,000. Because that CEO tried it, it worked with him, and he had all of his management take that on, and their company totally skyrocketed and became the largest steel manufacturer in the world.
That was in the 20s.
Yeah.
God knows what that is today.
Imagine $25,000 in the 1920s is probably about $500,000 today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
But it was that valuable.
Wow.
And it's so simple and almost forgotten in the business world. That it's a simple thing that will direct you toward your goal like almost nothing else.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So list the 6 things I need to do tomorrow, starting with the hardest task first, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Write your list before you go to sleep, so you can, as they say, sleep on it. Your subconscious mind will work on it all night, and you'll start to get solutions to what you thought were problems. You'll start to see solutions where you never would have imagined they would be.
Excellent. No, that bit I haven't heard before. I mean, the only one I heard before was from Brian Tracy about doing the hardest task first. I read that in one of his books, where he said that everybody puts off the hardest task till last, and he was saying if you get it out of the way first thing in the morning, it just sets your day up the right way,
and it gives you energy.
Yeah, you'll blitz to everything else. So yeah, but that comment you just mentioned is both of them are pretty good. Yeah, I think I'll do that then, where hopefully in the subconscious mind while I'm sleeping, it kind of helps me to find the solutions to those issues. Yeah, brilliant.
Tap into the energy that you have inside you.
Thank you.
You want something to add something to that, Jennifer?
I would just say that, when we tap into those goals that really inspire us, that releases our energy.
Yeah.
It releases the energy, and we really tap into that purpose. It really releases energy. I would just encourage you to really look at your goal again, redefine it.
Are there questions from other people?
Yeah, exactly. If anyone has any questions in terms of goals, vision, focus, that Dan and Jennifer is talking today, you can ask now, or you can also share with us the top challenges that your company is experiencing now, for example. You can always share or tap as well.
Hey, all of you. I'm Thomas from Munich.
Hi, Thomas. How are
So
you?
sorry for coming late. So I had a customer call, but
No worries.
I have a question for you professionals here. So I'm in sales, working
Great.
30 years in sales, tech, and when it comes to achieving goals, or in this case, not achieving goals, what should be the recommendation from your side regarding communication to the managers when you see at the end of the quarter or the year when you're not able to achieve your goals? What is your recommendation regarding communication to your managers, to the board? That would be of interest, because in sales you have high times, low times. In average, you have to make your number, right? And usually you do, but in my case, but what is your recommendation when regarding a time you do not achieve your goals? Recommendation regarding communication to your managers or to the board?
Well, the number one recommendation is to first take full ownership of that result. You want to, there are a few questions you may want to ask yourself is that, did you truly want this goal? Was a desire really there? The second is, did you really go after it? That is the question. Did you really go? Did you really implement everything that you can? And the third you maybe want to evaluate as well is the timeline. See, the goals never change. The timelines may. Okay, so maybe again, we're growing in awareness, right? And you have implemented everything you knew according to your own logic at the time to achieve that goal. You may have to re-examine the logic. Was there a more efficient way that you could implemented your actions to achieve that goal? You see, so first is I would take full responsibility for it and look at those three criteria. Did you really truly want it? Because when we're looking at the emotional involvement of our target. And it's when we have to understand, when we tap into the emotions, that's when we tap into the subconscious mind. And when we just identified earlier today that the subconscious mind is the root cause of behavior, 97% of what we do.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's one thing that a rule that I find helpful for myself, and that's to point the finger at somebody. And I always thought that it was that person or that person, and really when it came down to it, what I needed to do is look at the person in the mirror. Because really, if I'm honest with myself and ask myself the question, what is it in me that's generating the energy that's causing that result? It may be something as simple as being distracted with something at home, with the fact that the car has a funny tick when I drive it to work, and I don't know what that is, and so my thoughts are distracted. That it's always a matter of where have I focused my attention, and what have I allowed in terms of my habitual thinking to take away from my focus toward my goal. And it's always something that's within me that's making it happen. And the amazing thing is, my wife always knows what it is.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, she could tell me, yeah, well, it's because you've been thinking this and this and this. How did you know that?
Yeah.
But wives have a way of knowing those things, and see things that I'm blind to because I've put my blinders on.
Mm. And do you think there's a difference when comparing goals you identified on your own and you set on your own, or goals set by other ones?
It's a big difference if it hasn't become internalized with you, and it's someone else's goal. If you're trying to achieve a goal set by somebody else, the only way you can effectively do that is to make it your own goal. And there has to be that agreement between you and the person who's setting the goal, whether it's you have a head of sales that's saying, I want these numbers. Maybe the best thing to do is to sit down with that person and talk about goals, because some people set goals and expect others to get them, and that person may need to learn something about goals, may need to have a long talk with Jennifer.
One other thing I wanted to point out is that we also have to understand that we can never outperform our deeper subconscious conditioning in terms of our self-image. So that's another deeper belief that we carry within ourselves, and that was set since we were like 5 years and younger. A lot of these subconscious programs were already set by the time we were very, very small children. So, and the key thing is to reprogram them in order to change the behavior, in order to get the results that the individual and the organization seeks.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Lisa?
It's 1 minute past 5. So we have any other questions? Maybe someone has a question. You can ask Dan and Jen.
I would just like to encourage everyone here to reach out and to consult with either Dan or myself. I think that what we're really coming to understand is that when we look at the surface of things, there's something much deeper going on, right? Even as something as goal setting, we're talking about the emotions behind it. We're talking about the mental programs behind the behavior. So these are kind of deeper aspects to explore and to understand. And it's really about really studying yourself, really. And are you worth that? Are you worth the time? Are you worth the money and the investment to really study yourself in order to get to where you want to be? So I just highly recommend and to encourage everyone to reach out and to consult with either of us.
Yeah, exactly. And Jen, can you tell a little bit more about your program, Thinking to Results for Corporate World? It's very interesting, I think, no?
Yes. So Thinking to Results has been used in Fortune 500 companies. It's been used in the boardrooms and, in Wall Street. And it was designed by Sandra Gallagher, who is a partner of Bob Proctor, who worked with many companies and took them public. And we really go into, similar to what we just discussed, about really getting clear as to the goal setting and aligning actions towards those goals. But the most important thing I think that sets us apart from any other personal development course is that we really help each individual understand their mind and how it works. And the most important thing is how to reprogram the subconscious mind so that the actions are actually taking place and that those goals are achieved. And then we're also looking at the deeper beliefs around like self-image, leadership, and the habitual ways that actually bring success automatically, like leaving the impression of increase and magnifying the mind through masterminding. And what's also very unique is how do we tap into more of an imagination in taking on the perception of the goal primarily, right? And we align all of these actions and what we're learning with the universal laws that are so mirror reflected in the laws of physics that Dan had described earlier. So it's quite powerful and very, very effective. So when we, again, thinking about the quantum, right? When we're talking about quantum leaps, we're actually talking about shifting the energy of each individual and the group as a whole towards a specific objective. And when we do that in very specific ways, as we teach, then the goals are achieved in much faster time and also with less effort, which may seem kind of incredible to individuals. And what we like to say is, you know, it's only a belief or a paradigm to believe there's incremental growth. Why not exponential growth? Why does it have to be 5%? You know, these single digit growth. Why not 500%? Right? So I've had clients who literally in the sales, financial services specifically, and also like in network marketing companies where they will produce more in one day what they did in the previous year. And it's because of changing their subconscious conditioning. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And also John was actually he is a customer success stories for this corporate course, John. Remember when you have it in your company, could you also share your experience, you know, being implementing that for the team in insurance, I think?
I believe it's for dental practice. Is that right, Dan?
Ah, yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
If you can share just a little bit of story about how that was implemented and how that helps employees. And
Yeah, no, I thought you were talking to Jen. I didn't hear
no,
you
I said
saying
that.
Dan. I thought, well, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, no, we actually got involved with TIR as clients in dental practice. That my wife is a dentist, and we had everybody in the practice, the whole team, took the TIR program, and because of that, the dental practice grew in 1 year's time. We just about doubled our total collections. So it was, and now it's a common practice, and we're making like Jennifer was saying, is as much in a month as we used to make in a year.
Very good. Very good.
And a lot of it has to do with changing the mindset. And we had people leave. We had people go, you know, this isn't for me. And that person was one that I thought, well, that person really isn't for us, because they had a different direction. They had a different goal, and their goal was to work someplace else, which was too bad, because we work on a salary basis plus a bonus for the whole team. And we've had the team members take home more from their bonus than they made in their salary, because they share in the profitability. And and they love to come to work. They love to work because they know that they're making twice as much as they would make anyplace else.
Amazing.
You can sense an abundance mindset right there from what you just described, Dan.
Yeah, and Amrit has a comment in the chat there. Yeah, everybody's very motivated, and not only are they motivated, they can tell, every person on the team can tell you what the company goal is, and is to provide excellent service to patients that are motivated and easy to work with and compliant with their care, and happy to pay for it. So it's you know, I'm not saying it's a little more to it than that, but that's the short version. But they can all tell you exactly what kind of patient we're looking for. And we have patients that come into the practice, and we know they're not a good fit, and they know they're not a good fit, and they don't stay. Patients that come in want comprehensive work done, and they're happy to see us. They bring us cookies and flowers to the dentist.
Very good.
It's funny, yeah.
Very good. Happy clients.
Yep. Happy clients, happy team members, and we're super motivated.
Very good. Yeah, just want to share with you guys this very super cool product and course. I also was a person who took it for myself, and my when I was working for a technology company, and my results actually double and three doubles. So I overachieved my targets where I was very struggling because the market was very challenging. I used to work for BMC Software, so it's data automation company in Ireland, and the market was Nordics. I didn't speak the language, but somehow I overachieve and create more opportunities than I even imagined. But listening to the product all over, coming to the classes. So I think anyone can do the same. So I really encourage everyone to take a chance. And also I want to share with you here, this is how you can contact actually, if you see now the screen, this is how you can contact Jennifer. This is Jennifer profile. We are on LinkedIn, info@discovernew.net. This is our contact. So if anyone is interested to learn more about thinking to results, please get in touch with us. Also Dan, he's closely working with us, so he's very happy as well to tell you more about that. So.
Yes, and I'm not a TIR consultant, but I've been through the program, so I do know the material, not to the depth that Jennifer does.
Yeah. Good. So if anyone had last questions, you can ask here, because we have overtime 5:10, but I mean, for me, it was very, very informative, and I hope anyone from you guys can take something home. Jen and Dan, would you like to leave with audience something to do, with some thoughts at the end of the webinar? Or
well, the one thing I would say is something that was told to me by another person who's made phenomenal changes in his life, and he said, it's simple, but it's not easy.
True.
Because the simple things like the six-step list is an easy concept, but but applying it requires some changes in your mindset and changes in your focus. But if you think of the benefits of achieving that goal that you dream of achieving for your company or for yourself, it gives you the motivation to do those simple things, take those little steps, and just remember that if you decide to go off to the coffee maker, is that taking you closer to your goal? Or the chat with the team member down the hall? If it's not taking you closer to your goal, you will be happier at the end of the day by going in the direction of your goal and knowing that you've made, even if it's a small step, you're going in the right direction.
I would like to just impart on all the participants here to make a decision. Yeah, decide to really get better, to improve, because there's a law that if we're not creating, we are disintegrating. If we're not constantly improving, then there's two things are going to happen. You're going to stagnate, and eventually there will be disintegration, or it's just going to be straight disintegration. So always progress and work on your mindset consistently.
Mm-hmm. They call that entropy in physics, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right.
Everything moves to a state of its lowest energy state, and the whole universe does that. We're part of the universe. And if we don't put energy into it, we start to go to a lower energy state. It's a natural. It takes energy to move yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks everybody for being here. This has been really fun for me.
Yeah, it's very grateful to serve
our guest speakers and every participant. And yeah, let us know if you're interested in the program to take part, and hope to see you soon on our next webinars.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Yeah, have a nice day.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa.
Bye.
Thank you
Take
for
care.
them.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Ah.